Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geoffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Folks, I have some news for you, and I know you're going to find it very surprising. According to a poll in England, most Brits believe that the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family should be stripped of his titles. I know that comes as a shock to everybody because, according to the Prince of Toads, he's a very honorable man, and he plays with a straight bat, and he wears the right kit when it's necessary. Alright, back to reality. Everybody on the planet, including the Brits, knows that this man is an absolute liar. All you have to do is tune in to his interview with Emily Maitlis, and he is laid bare. The Prince certainly had no clothes. And what we saw underneath was a liar, a schemer, and a plotter. And if he thinks that the English people are going to buy into his shit, if he thinks that the English people are going to believe him, he has another thing coming. From the emails that I have received from listeners of this show, if they are any indication of the way people are feeling in England right now and in the English territories, then I have to tell you what, folks. I would not be surprised to see the English people force this man into giving a statement to the FBI at this point. Because a poll like this is a death knell for somebody like Prince Andrew. There is no doubt in my mind that the royal family is scrambling right now. And if this was the old days, they'd be sending the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family to the furthest province away from them, Timbuktu, all right? India, whatever they could possibly do to get him out of the actual kingdom and away from the court is what they would be doing. But this day and age, you're stuck with him. You created the monster, Miss Queenie. Now you are stuck with him and all of the shame he brings. All right, so our article today is from Newsweek. The headline, Prince Andrew should lose royal titles, face extradition over Epstein. The author of the article is Jack Royston. Most Brits believe Prince Andrew should be stripped of his royal titles and extradited to the U.S. to testify over his links to Jeffrey Epstein, an exclusive Newsweek polling reveals. And again, I don't disagree. I don't know how anyone can disagree with a poll like this, right? Because all you have to do is take a look at the forum section of any story that has to do with the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, and you see which way the public is blowing, right? And you see that the public, with the evidence that's available to us, well, the public has rendered their decision, sir. And the way you conduct yourself, the way you hide from investigators, the way you continuously refuse to provide whatever information that could be helpful, well, the longer you do it and the more you invest in this strategy, the less people are going to think of you and the less people are going to believe you. The Duke of York was forced to step back from public life in disgrace after defending his friendship with the New York financier, pedophile, and denying having sex with a trafficking victim. Yeah, he was grounded basically, right? Mommy said, look, enough is enough. You've brought enough shame to the family. You're going to have to go to the back of the room now, and you can no longer be involved in the public eye. And it's not because, at least in my opinion, it's not because the Queen cares about these survivors either. It's because she cares about the image of the royal family. At the end of the day, I don't know how many times I have to say it. At the end of the day, all of these so-called elites and all of their buddies, all they care about is consolidating the power that they have and not losing one single sliver of it. Has nothing to do with having remorse. It has nothing to do with caring about these survivors or what they went through. It all has to do with playing the game. Now the U.S. Department of Justice want him to answer questions in a UK court about his links to the pedophile who died in jail in August. The Department of Justice wants answers, and I don't know if they're going to require him to sit down with a UK court, if they're going to require him to sit down with their investigators, whatever it may be. But the fact of the matter remains, Andrew must talk. Out of 2,000 people surveyed online by Redfield and Wilton Strategies for Newsweek, 59% said Andrew should be extradited and face questioning in America. That is an insane number, folks. 60%. 6 out of 10 Brits believe not only should he face questioning, but that he should be extradited to the United States of America to do so. This has to be very, very concerning for the royal family. This has to be very, very concerning for the monarchists, because this was a fragile monarchy to begin with, right? There was questions lingering for a few decades now. And without the Queen's steadying presence, this monarchy would already be a thing of the past, in my opinion. And the Queen, while she is respected and, loved, I guess, by the people, she is very old. And her son, Charles, who is going to be taking over for her, is not very loved, right? There's still the stink of Diana on him. So it's very interesting watching how this will unfold going forward, especially considering I know how these royal houses operate, and I know that other nobles who say that they have a claim to the crown will certainly be looking to initiate that claim. And a modern-day Game of Thrones might ensue. And 52% said he should be stripped of his royal titles, which he is still free to use despite not performing any public duties. So he has these titles still, doesn't perform any royal duties, and the people of England, at least 52% of them, believe that he should be stripped of those royal titles, according to this poll. And I believe that that's right around the number, maybe a little bit more even, who feel this way. Only 24% said he should keep them, while 25% did not know, according to the data, which carried a 2.19% margin of error. Currently, Andrew is known by His Royal Highness Prince and Duke of York most frequently, but he also has a series of traditional titles as well as honors bestowed by Queen Elizabeth II. Yeah, let's get into a couple of those names. The Prince of Toads, the Prince of Punk Asses, the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family. Those are just a few. Andrew's biographer, Nigel Cawthorne, this month told The Sun Prince Andrew is virtually retired and can no longer carry out royal duties. Yeah, well, that's for sure. We haven't seen him do much, right? And especially now with all the new stuff that's coming out, I highly doubt they'll be trotting this moron out anytime soon. And if they do, oh boy, will they be eviscerated. So surely he should give up the HRH title and the money he receives from the privy purse. Harry and Meghan, who were upset about losing their HRH, will be thinking it's a little bit unfair Andrew gets to keep his. So you're telling me a guy that is being credibly accused of partaking in a sex trafficking ring and having sex with an underage girl is more entitled to keep his titles than this Harry and Meghan, who decided to just cut out and didn't want anything to do with these weird-ass Habsburg jaw-having MFers? They don't get their titles, but Prince Andrew gets to keep his? I don't even understand. So it's more of an issue for you to bounce and want to make your own way in life than it is for you to partake in Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring? Is that where we're at with the royal family? Is that those are the parameters? I mean, that's the public image they're giving out here, right? It is all bad in my opinion. Look, again, everybody who listens to the show knows I'm not some sort of royalist, right? I don't know much about the monarchy, but I do know this. This is a bad look. You want to let this pedophile keep his titles, but you want to get rid of these two very loved people, Meghan and whatever his name is, Harry, I guess, and loved around the world. People love these two. But you want to take away their titles and make sure that the Prince of Pervs, Mr. Touchy himself, the Joe Exotic of the royal family, keeps his? And you wonder why so many people are asking questions. The Duke has been involved in a standoff with the U.S. Department of Justice, who issued a formal request to the British government for him to give an interview. And I don't even know how much of a standoff it is at this point. And I can't even really make heads or tails of what's going on with the Justice Department. I'm still doing some digging in regards to the situation with Berman. I know there's a lot of people that are firing off, comments and have a lot to say about the Berman firing. But I think that it's a very precarious situation that needs a lot of scrutiny. I think it's something that needs to be dug deep into. And there are a lot of motivating factors here, right? And I'm trying to dig through them as we speak, and I'm going through certain articles and talking to people and trying to get a handle on just exactly what occurred there. But one thing is for sure. The Department of Justice wants to speak with Andrew, and that doesn't mean just Berman. That means the Department of Justice wants to speak with him. So I expect Audrey Strauss to continue with whatever investigations they had open, and I expect her to pursue this with vigor. Now, again, I don't have very much confidence in the SDNY as an office at this point. But hopefully, Audrey Strauss will do the right thing. Geoffrey Berman, who was U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, was running the investigation, but has since been forced to step down following a public argument with Attorney General William Barr. And I take a little bit of umbrage with that, running the investigation, more like overseeing the investigation, okay? Agents were running the investigation. You had a SAC that was probably involved, a special agent in charge who was probably involved, probably have a bureau chief who's involved. But to say Berman is running the case, that's a step too far, in my opinion. Now, he's overseeing the criminal side of it for sure, but he's not involved in the day-to-day building the case the way the junior prosecutors are, or the agents, right? So with Berman out, I don't feel like it's a huge deal as far as the case goes, because the case is the case. So people trying to make a martyr of Berman, I don't dig that either, because Berman was a do-nothing jackass as well, right? Like I said, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Ultimately, Barr said Berman had been fired by President Donald Trump, and he has now been replaced. Prior to that, Berman accused Andrew of falsely portraying himself as helpful while unequivocally refusing to cooperate with the investigation into Epstein. And we know that Berman broke a lot of, mores, I guess you would say, when he came out and spoke the way he did publicly about the investigation into Prince Andrew. Now, the FBI and prosecutors very rarely go that route. So I don't understand really what his strategy was, if he even had one, but it's interesting to see where these dominoes are going to fall. Prince Andrew's legal team say he 3 times offered to give a statement, with the dispute focusing on whether the Duke should answer questions. Andrew's legal team, Blackford's, said in a statement this month, on January 27, 2020, Mr. Geoffrey S. Berman, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, chose to make a public statement about Joe Exotic of the Windsor family. This led to worldwide media reports that there had been a wall of silence and that there had been zero cooperation by the Prince of Punkasses. These statements were inaccurate and they should not have been made. Well, that's according to the defense team, right? Again, I go back to the scorpion and the frog. We're the frog in this situation, and the Department of Justice and Andrew's team are both the scorpions. So we're damned if we do, and we're damned if we don't. Either way, we're dealing with notorious liars here. So, on March 9th, 2020, Mr. Berman made further public statements saying that the Duke had completely shut the door on cooperating with the U.S. investigation, and that they are now considering further options. Again, the first statement was inaccurate and should not have been made. Really? It was inaccurate? So what you're telling me is the prince has been falling all over himself to come answer these questions? The prince is, ready to speak to authorities all of a sudden? Because that's basically what you're saying, because those statements are inaccurate and they should not have been made. Well, if that's the case, let's get old Joe Exotic of the Windsor family sat down in front of a few seasoned investigators. Let's get a 302 going, and let's get the RICO party started. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. Inside of the description box, you will find a link to the article as well as a link to the GoFundMe if you would like to help the podcast. All right, everybody, we'll be back later on for some more.